Hi, click like, click share. I'm watching this show, and it's about Jamaica and the jacket population. Jacket meaning, for those who don't know, a child who is not of the man, from the man. Okay, they get pregnant from some guy that financially is not stable or whatever the case may be, and they pick when the baby comes. They're seeing several men, and they pick the man that's more responsible. That's what he's talking about. And you see where he's from Jamaica, so you know. And that's a problem to me, you know, because later on, but I'll tell you as a woman why they do that. And he said it. He said it. They're not financially stable. These men that these women have babies for. They probably love the guy, but they know he's a no good man, but he gives good dick. Just to keep it dirty. You know, she enjoys the sex and the excitement of being with him and whatever, but as far as anything else, no. And I don't think that's fair. Not only for the child, but for the father. Because here it is, a man is growing to love this child, and he's taking care of this child for 18 to 21 years. And these women and these men, because I know a guy who does that. He loves to have children, but he just don't like to take care of them. So he gets all his girlfriends pregnant, and the girl put it on another man, and he bonded with the child as uncle or something like that. And then when the children, when all his kids is not grown, they still young, but when the kids is going to turn of age, where the guy who's responsible for that child turns a certain age, he's going to tell him, "I'm your daddy." That child is not that that man is not your daddy. It's a regular practice for him, and I don't think it's fair on the guy. I don't think it's fair on the child, because that child is going to grow up loving that man as his or her father, and grow to love that person. And then when it's time for not taking care of the child, you're gonna say, "Oh, by the way, yeah, you've been taking care of the child for 20 something years, but it's not yours. We just found out." And meanwhile, yeah, she been knew that child is not hers, it's his, and it's terrible. So what I'm saying is, in Jamaica, they want to bring up this law where at birth, when the child is born, it's a mandatory DNA, because a lot of women is getting killed, and a lot of men is losing their minds because they grow to love these children. Some guy was married. He said he was married, had 5 children, and 3 of the children is not his. And then another guy was married in the same thing. All the 3 kids that they had together, well, they had, he's been taken care of. None of the children was his, and that's just 2 examples. And he's saying back and forth. It's terrible. It happens a lot in the U.S. It do. I get down on Jamaicans because they are so they're very they're very violent, so to speak. I mean, I like them, but they're very violent, vicious people, and I learned that from the political wars that they had. When I was younger, they would fight when it was election time. They would kill each other. I mean, they would be friends one day, and then when politicians roll around and politics roll around, they would kill each other and call themselves friends and stuff like that. So at a young age, I was like kind of skeptical to that. I thought it was just a myth, but it actually true. So they're bringing over all the stuff to the United States and other countries, the bully mentality. You understand? Because a lot of women is in the United States is giving a lot of men jackets, And then the politicians like Clark and all of them, they put into play that um, when if you're with the woman and you sign on the birth certificate for the child, you accept the child. You have to pay for that child. So if later on you find out that that child is not yours, you still have to pay for that child because your name is on the birth certificate. So I advise that, and that rule is in the United States. I don't know what's in Jamaica right now. They're trying to get a new rule in there. And he said the female politicians are fighting for it not to happen. So in America, I think it's unfair. I'm a woman. I don't want that to happen to my son. So that's why I tell him, no matter who that person is, take a DNA test because you never know. It may be a one night stand. It may be a mistake. It may be a time that both of y'all had a fight and she went out and did whatever and you went out and did whatever. You understand? So, because it's not just the girl. I mean, he could have go out there and had a one night stand and the girl tell him, oh, I'm pregnant or something like that. So I'm like, take a birth test. You understand? I don't care what if the baby look like you or not. Take a DNA test. So I advise all the men out there watching this, please take a DNA test before you put your name on that birth certificate. She is gonna cry. Oh, you don't trust me. Oh, you calling me. Da, 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 da. Yeah, because they just put on an act. It's like when you tell them you gotta sign a prenup. Oh, you don't love me. You don't trust me. No, it's not that. It's that I'm protecting my assets. And if you show that, that you really love me or whatever, because some women would stick out that 5 years because, suppose they put a 5 year thing on it. And they say, okay, after 5 years, then I'll sign over. What if I die, it comes to you, whatever. They would stick out that 5 years. You hear me? That's how conniving women are. I'm just letting you know. And when I saw Ray J and his mom had that conversation, his mom was saying, Ray, I think you need to get a prenup, blah 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 blah. And then he went to what's her name? He went to that chick. He went to her and she started crying, and it's all a game. It's all a game. She wants to make sure that she protects her her future. And her main goal was just to make sure that no prenup is involved, no DNA is involved. You understand? Because you don't know if they're really in love. And I always use you, princess, because of the background you have. You have a background. You went with Floyd Mayweather. You stole his jewelry, and you were just trying to latch on to anybody with a name. That's why I always use you. It's not to say I don't like you. It's not to say, that's why I always use your name. So, I really don't care if you get mad or whatever, but I know you and Ray J was going through your thing, and I hope y'all work it out. But anyway, so anyway, for you guys, for you guys who um just had a birth and you're really excited about having a child, even if you're married, I suggest, even if you have to take a secret blood test, take a secret blood test. I mean, she's not going to be with the baby 24/7. I mean, okay, you already signed the birth certificate. Take a secret blood test. And, don't let nobody know. Don't let her know because she may call her friend. Because let me tell you this crowd, they would, the people in the DNA thing would make sure it turns out to be yours, if you know what I'm saying. So don't believe every time you see Maury, the producer comes in his ear, listen, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, that's another thing. But don't believe that when you get that DNA test and she knows about it. No, take a secret DNA test. She's boo-hooing and crying and blah, 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 blah. But let it be known once you sign that birth certificate, it don't matter if you find out later that that child is not yours, you still have to pay for that child. Yeah, so you could find out day 5 of the child's life that the child is not yours, but you already put your signature on the birth certificate. It's too late, and she can come after you. She can come after you for child support, and the courts is going to give it to her because the real father's not going to step to it. That was the main goal. He wanted kids, but he don't want to take care of them financially. He wants to raise them so they can adore him and love him and look up to him or whatever. But as far as financially, he don't want to do that. So at the 18th year or the 21st year, she's gonna be like, "Oh, remember we had a fight that weekend, and I just felt like doing me, because we have our slut days where we just have one night stands, or we don't even remember the guy's name or whatever the case. Yeah, we have those, and then we have the ones that is seeing him and seeing this one, and you know going behind each other's back. You understand? Right. Because I was caught up in that. I was caught up in no, not for the DNA, for being called slut by my ex-boyfriend because um he thought I was sleeping with my ex-boyfriend, which I wasn't. I did some dumb shit, but but anyway, because I don't want anybody to say, "Oh, was she? Think she No, I'm not perfect, but I couldn't see myself giving a child to somebody who, just because he's financially stable, I couldn't see that. Because in the long run, it's just going to hurt the child. It's just going to hurt the child. I know you probably want to hurt the father, but it's going to hurt the child eventually. And she or he is going to hate you, And talking about that, and that goes for the women who use their children to get at their baby daddies because he don't want you no more. You can't fathom that he don't want you. And so, because I was in that situation, I used to live with this guy, and his baby mother was young. So I had to deal with her with kid gloves. You understand? And she would call my house and she would cuss me out and want to talk to me any old kind of way. And then I told her, I'm like, listen, if you want to talk to Andre, you gonna have to call me. Good morning, good afternoon. Can I speak to Andre? That's it. That's all you have to say to me. But don't call my house thinking you're gonna curse me out. And so anyway, eventually she started doing that. She started just calling and, you know, being cordial. And I would give him the phone or whatever. You understand? Where was I going with that? I was going. I was going. Right. I was trying to remember why I went to that direction, but um I'm trying to remember. Well, anyway, I used a different example. But some of these women, they because the right. Now I remember. So she used to call Andre every 5 minutes. Oh, the baby's sick. Oh, the baby got a cold. Oh, the baby's this. The baby need this. The baby need nappy. Blah 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 blah. In the middle of the night, any kind of time of the day. Blah, 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 blah. So I asked. I said, "Are you sleeping with him?" And she was like, "No." Blah blah blah. So of course, that was his only kid at the time. So he would get up and go and do. And fine. So there's women who would use their child just to be in the midst of the baby father. I don't put up with that. Up to this day, I don't put up with that. Um, if you have a child and you have a baby mother, you gotta put her in check. You gotta be like, don't call me in the middle of the night unless it's really an emergency for that child. And no, we cannot get back together. No, we can't have no one night stand. No, you understand? You gotta respect yourself because eventually, as a woman, I'm gonna find out anyway, and I'm gonna leave you. Because as women we do find out if our man is cheating or not because we have that instinct. And when you start feeling uneasy about your man, that's when it's time for you to really check out if he's doing what you think he's doing. And then as a woman you have to decide, when I do find out, or if I do find out that he's cheating, what am I going to do? Because for me, I'm like, I'm not gonna ask the question, really. Oh shit. Hold on. Yeah. So, yes, because in America, a lot of women do the same thing. They know they're pregnant for somebody else, and then they give it to the most responsible man, and that's not fair. I don't want that to happen to my son. I don't. So why should you, do that to somebody else's son? Don't matter how much you hate him, or don't matter how much Just sit down and explain to him. Listen, I had an affair, or I had this and I had that, or whatever. Or if you can't tell him and you're scared to tell him, just don't tell him it's his child. But if you want to raise the children like yours, like his, just for child support, and then years down the road, you know, he finds out it's not his. You don't know the mental stability of some people. You don't know of, what can transpire with that man. Because you're putting him through hell and dragging him to court and blah, 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 blah. And then come to find out, you know? So, yeah, I'm a woman. I have feelings, but I'm a mother. I'm a aunt. I'm a cousin. You know, it's hard because some people really want children. Some people really love children. And, when they think that child is theirs and to find out that that child is not theirs is very, very hurtful. It's very you know. But I just think that women need to wake up. They need to stop being so mean and nasty and conniving and yeah, it's good to be a strong woman, but on whose neck? You know, on whose neck? So, yeah, somebody was telling me that somebody I know, they have two children, a boy and a girl, and her and her husband broke up years ago, and the husband would not pay child support. He would not pay. I mean, she didn't tell me why, but a little birdie told me that the husband found out that the kids is not his because she was sleeping around, and she had children for somebody else, and he left her. Um, yeah, they was members of the church or something like that, and yeah, he found out his wife was sleeping. I don't know if he told the wife that he found out that she was having an affair and the children wasn't his. I don't know if he told her, but a little birdie told me that the reason why he wasn't taking care of his kids because she tries to take him to court on a regular basis, and I don't know if he shows up or something or whatever. I don't know if she wins and he's not paying, but he's not paying because the children is not his, and he found that out because he took a blood test. I don't think he told her that because she's still trying to get child support from this man, and they're grown. I mean, still going to school, but they're grown. Um, yeah, you have to pay up till the child finishes school. So, yeah, I don't think she knows that the, her baby father took a blood test. Because if she would have knew, if she knew that he was taking a blood test, she would have called one of her girlfriends and say, "Listen, my baby daddy taking a test, rig the test," because that's the kind of person she is. But he found out that the children is not his, and no, I don't know who he is. I never met the person. Mm-mm. I never met the I never met the father. I don't know what he is. Sometimes when people talk certain things, I just be all phased out. I don't be, because certain things is none of my business. I know people talk to certain people to find out their business, but I'm really not into nobody's business. So sometimes I really don't pay it because I try to see two sides of the story. So when she was telling me, oh, he don't take care of my kids, blah 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 blah, and blah 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 blah, blah, and he left me and stuff like that. I'm like, I said to myself, there's two sides to a story. And at that time, I didn't know what kind of person she was. But I always say it's two sides to a story. So, the story is he found out the kids is not his, and he don't want to pay child support for children that's not his. So she can keep taking him to court. He's not gonna pay. No, if the kids was his, I'm sure he would have paid because he grew to love the kids. But he's like, no, go find a man that got you pregnant. I love them as my own, but I'm not going to take care of them financially. I'll give them things. You understand? I'll give them stuff they need. I'll be there for them or whatever the case may be. But giving you money for them, no, I'm not doing that because people grow attached. You know, and like I said, I know this guy and I know a couple of guys like that. They want children, but they don't want to take care of the children, so they let the baby mother put it off on somebody else because they at that time they started welfare started actually looking for the father. Yeah, because back in the day when I was younger, there was a couple of sisters on my block, and they would have kid after kid after kid after kid. I'm like, why every minute they having kids? they was they was competing for that welfare check because with every kid you would get an extra couple of dollars on your check. So they was in the hustling game. So they needed, welfare to them was extra money, because they be out there doing what they're doing anyway. So, I'm not giving names. I'm just giving events. So there was, yeah. So it was three of them, and yeah, every minute they would be popping up pregnant. Because I asked one of the sisters, why every minute you pregnant? Girl, you get an extra check. I gotta do me. So she used to get the check and her and her sisters, but her and her sisters was very close. Her and her sisters was very close. And but I don't know if they used to, because one of them had a boyfriend. The other two, not so much. She stably had a boyfriend, or some guy she was madly in love with. And the other two, I think, didn't really have a relationship, or was it vice versa? Was she madly in love with the guy, and the guy was all over the place, and the two sisters had relationships? It it was either that way or the other way. It was either she had a good relationship with the guy, and the other two didn't, or the other two did, and she was madly in love with this guy, and he didn't want to be tied down. So yeah, every minute they pop up pregnant, and one of the sisters, I mean, they was way older than me, not way, but they was over 5 years older than me, and she told me, "Listen, I get a check. I'm doing me, because like I said, they was in the hustle game." And she said, "I got a check," and blah 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 blah. They don't ask for the daddy, and then they started asking for the father. It's like, okay, well, can you give us the address of where you saw him last? Yeah, they would ask you that, where you saw him last, and just give us his last address, because I guess they do that credit check, boom, 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 name, boom, 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 siphon it down, boom, they got your social. then they run you down. Yeah. Back in the day, a lot of girls and a lot of guys are scattering. They didn't know what to do because now the government said, yeah, father gotta pay for these kids now. You understand? Then they brought up the rule about now you gotta work for your check. Because the girls were still staying in the house and doing nothing and just collecting the check and from one family member to the next. Everybody's going on the system and blah 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 blah. Nobody want to get out the house. Or blah, blah. So then they said, okay, now you got to work for the check. So a lot of girls got got jobs because the system told them you got to work. So now they out in the regular public working. You understand? And at back then they didn't look at it as being good. But I bet you now they do because it got them out of that cycle. Because some people are good people. It's just that they are not taught better or know better. They around the friend. They're around the friends. Because I know a couple of people. They had good family upbringing. It's just that they was getting into these situations. They was young, but then they friends. Because I know their mama wasn't telling them stuff like that. But you know they around certain friends, and then they meeting the wrong guys, and they think they know everything because they were so young. You know, so no, I'm glad that, they kept their kids. I love them to death, but yeah, because I know quite a few people who went on the system and stayed on the system, wanted to stay on the system, and they're all great people. You understand? But you know, then like I said, the system was like, okay, now we got to find your baby father. Okay, now you gotta go out to work for the check. You understand? Because on one hand, they're complaining about, oh, the poor people's not this, the poor people's not getting this, the poor people's not getting that. But you have to try to rise yourself up too. You can't just keep blaming the system to get free money. Like I was watching some of these tenants and these so-called homeowners, you know, and they was complaining, and I'm calculating. I'm like, okay, they giving you $1,200, then they gave you 14, then they gave you 6. It's you and your man, because I'm not saying husband because they might not be married. It's you and your man. Okay, so that's what, 12, 24, 36, 40. That's $5,000 just by the checks they were sending. Then income tax came around. Then they gave the child thing. So you and your man sitting on, and then they was given unemployment, extra check on unemployment. So you and your man sitting with $20,000, $30,000 each. You understand? Because the government was giving out money in the COVID thing. You couldn't pay your rent. You couldn't pay your mortgage, which I was doing with that. So I heard a lot of people say, "Oh well, I was stuck in the house all the time. I need a vacation. My Christmas is coming. My kids I gotta show my kids a good time because they were so depressed being in the house and da 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 da." Meanwhile, to stop that for a minute, that's what y'all was doing to me. That was keeping me in the house. You wouldn't have me socialize. For those who know what I'm talking about, you wouldn't have me socialize. You wanted me to lose my job, this and that. So now it comes that you guys are being stuck in the house, non-socializing, all that stuff. So anyway, back to the masses. Yeah, so they would be saying, all that stuff. Making up excuses why they have to spend the money and not pay their landlord. Meanwhile, their landlord is moms and pops for most of it. So they're saying, okay, I can take this money, enjoy myself. When rent time comes around and this thing, I'll go back to court. The court is going to give me 6 months to move. I don't have to pay my landlord. I still bucket 6 months worth of rent, blah, blah, blah. So they calculate it in their head. And those are the same people that's running up to Congress and saying, oh, we need more money. Oh, these landlords are getting over. No, some of these landlords lost their homes because most of the landlords is moms and pops. They may own like one, maybe two properties. They're not no big conglomerate. Excuse me. They're not some big conglomerate. Even if they own 4 and 5 homes. They're not a big corporation. And why are you mad that they saved their money to buy homes? You didn't buy your home. You know, you thought it was better to rent. Because at one point I thought it was better to rent also. And my cousins and my sister was like, come on, Rhonda, come on. I wanted to get a home, but I wanted to get a dream home. But what I should have thought is I wanted to get into the real estate market, but I had to jump through too many hoops. So I said, okay, let me just get something I like. Da, 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 da. I was always on the dream home thing, but now I'm just property, 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 fix them up, break them down, do whatever. You understand? So, but it's my sister and my cousin Annie that was constantly telling me get a house, and I'm glad I did. But she was. They would be like, and I keep seeing it. Oh, these landlords are mean and blah 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 blah. Meanwhile, you and your man had 30 apiece, and none of y'all paid not even a little bit of your rent. None. You didn't even give them $1,000. Say, hold this. Nothing. You took all that money, that so-called free money, as they want to call it, and you just went on vacation, bought your kids stuff, and you didn't care about how the landlord was getting through. And yet still you want to run down and call social service if they take off the light, if they take off the water, if they take off the gas, if they do this and if they do that. You know you still got to pay for those things. So he or she had to pay for your your luxury and you and your children, and you don't want to pay them nothing? Really? Yeah, I've been down that alley before. I had a tenant. I had somebody in my house. I was helping her actually, and she would charge me for everything because somebody asked me, and she did not want to give me nothing, nothing, and she was bringing her family and wouldn't tell me, and meanwhile you keep telling me you're looking, you're looking, you're looking, and you wasn't really looking. Because why go somewhere else and pay $2,500 when you can be here for free and not pay nothing? Why do that? So I kept hearing, oh, I'm looking, thanks, please be patient with me, blah 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 blah. Nothing. She wasn't giving me nothing. And every time I see her walk with coming from work, she got a new bag in her hand with something in it. So then she bought a new car and she said, oh, you're jealous of me. You mad at me because I bought a new car. No, I'm mad at you because here you are on one hand that you're hardworking and stuff. Because I used to really look up to her because even though me and her was arguing all the time for her to do what she had to do and leave, she would get up every morning and go to work and you know do whatever. You understand? And but she just didn't want to pay me nothing. And and the mother in me kicked in. On one hand, I'm admiring her for every day going out to work, but then on the other hand, you're trying to be greasy. Greasy meaning you're trying to be slick and not. So needless to say, it ended in a bad way. But then I just I really had to look at her as my child because her mouth was so slick. I had to keep overlooking it. I really had to keep overlooking it. I'm like, because a lot of people think that, you're desperate or whatever the case may be. I'm just helping you out. But that help out turned out to be detrimental to me. You understand? And because you can help but so much. And then she was trying to get pregnant. And she got pregnant. Then she tried to get pregnant again. I'm like, hold up. You crying you can't even afford the one kid you had. Now you got two. You want another one? And you ain't paying nothing? Girl, please. Then she called me a bitch. Get the fuck out. Oh, sorry. Get out. I don't put up with certain things. Me and her battling back and forth. I'm like, if they had to snow the bag, they would charge me. Instead of them saying, well, I'll do it. Nope. He'll run me down for that money, boy. Her boyfriend. Oh, yeah. And then she moved her boyfriend in. I'm helping you out, and then you move your boy. Oh, well, she asked you for both. No. Mm-mm. And for future landlords, when you're supposed to rent to somebody, especially a woman, because women usually do stuff like that. Not much to boys, but women do that. That's a lie, because I'll tell you the story in a minute. Yeah, but it's mostly women. They come, they rent out the place for them. The next thing you know, some guy is visiting on a regular basis. Then you see he ain't leaving. She's like looking at you. Oh, well, yeah, it was for me and my boyfriend. You didn't I? Yes, I told you. Like, I'm like, oh, really? So I'm that dumb that I forgot that you told me it was for you and your man. Yeah, so if you're a future landlord, please be careful. Because the girl will come in, look all nice and pretty. Because her credit usually checks out. Boys, they credit, how boys are. Her credit usually checks out. So they going on the strength of the woman. So she gets the place, blah, 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 and he sneaks in. Then your water bill go up for all the private sectors. For your water bill go up, your light bill go up, this and that, blah, blah, blah. Then the mama comes to visit, and the cousin needs a place to stay for a little while. So you got 10 people in a one place, and nobody's paying you nothing. And they look at you like, why I gotta tell you all my business? Why I gotta tell you when my family visiting? Ain't none of your. I'm like, it's not that I'm trying to find out your business. If you was in a public building, fine, you do you. But you're in a private house. Water bill, light bill, everything goes up. And all of them seems to be working. Your mom, you keep saying, have two buildings where she at in Florida, blah, 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 blah. And your mom can't even kick in $100 to put on to give me for something? No. So, and then on the other hand, I was happy to see a young couple trying to make it. So it was like I was in and out of, letting my ownership kick in. You understand? I'm like, well, they're young and you didn't have no help, and you gotta, try to be patient. I'm talking to myself now about her, because I'm trying to help her, and she's bringing on people after people, and she cussing me out and calling me all kinds of names, and my family will tell you I don't put up with shit like that. Matter of fact, when she cussed me out, I told her to get, and she said, "You gonna have to take me to court for that." So anyway, she's like, so I'm internally being her mother, being her landlord, so to speak, with no rent, but I'm still officially the landlord, and trying to be a friend. You understand? So I was all confused, but I ended up being her mom. You understand? I end up trying to put up with her and not deal with her ratchetly that I know I can. You understand? And I tried to be as patient with her as possible. Yup, she was calling me all kinds of names. She called me crazy. She called me bitch. I'm like, girl, you better go ask my cousin about me, girl, because I'm not no joke. You understand? So I had to keep talking myself into being patient with her. Yup, because let me tell you, I called up the moving company and I'm like, how much you gonna charge me? Yup, I was gonna deal with the city later. You're not gonna be doing no bullshit to me. That's how deep it got. And that mother had to always kick in. Rhonda, come on. Calm down. She don't know what she doing. You understand? I had to talk myself into dealing with this young lady, being a mom myself, and it reminded me of Andre and his girlfriend because I had to deal with her a thing because she was young, so I had to deal with her on the mother aspect as opposed to the opponent aspect. You understand? So I had to deal with her. I had to deal with Linda as a mother. You know, the landlord in me wanted to kick in, but I'm like, I got to deal with Linda a different way. I said, I know you never took this abuse before, but try to deal with her as a mom. Because her mom was giving her advice and how to be nasty to me. Her sister was giving her advice how to be nasty to me. Then her boyfriend started being mean to me and nasty to me. Then he asked me for a favor and she asked me for a favor. I'm like, okay, come on, Rhonda, you're a mother. Yeah, yeah. With Linda, I always had to like pat myself. I'm like, I gotta deal with this girl, man. I gotta deal with this girl. She got 2 kids. I don't want her out in the street. I'm gonna be patient. That's how I had to deal with her. You know, but she called. She was doing some stuff that I told her. I said, not, don't do that. This is New York. Don't do what you plan on doing. I said, I'll be patient. Just get somewhere to go because me and you is not getting along. Like my mother said, two bulls is in a pen. Even though, yeah, two bulls in a pen, we can't get along. You understand? But I wished her well because it could have got worse. It really could have got worse. And I just I just try to remember the good in her because her mouth is reckless. Her mouth was reckless, and I don't take stuff like that in my own house. No, I don't take stuff like that. But I constantly have to talk to myself. Constantly have to talk. Rhonda, be patient. Be patient. Don't do her like that. Let, let her go on her own thing. She'll see. Blah 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 blah. And so I constantly have to talk to myself about her, and I do wish her well, but yeah, nothing. Every day I would see her come here with a bag in her hand, and she'd be like, "I ain't going nowhere, bitch." That's the look she was giving me. Her husband, I'm not going nowhere, bitch. Yup, I'm gonna stay up here, give you nothing, and I'm gonna do me. Yup, and she sure enough was doing me. She sure enough was doing me. But you live and you learn. I'm not to say I wouldn't help anybody, again, because people have come here, stay here, not pay me nothing, whatever. But because I do that because when I was young I had no help. My mother told me you had him, take care of him. She would let him stay there, but she was like, okay, he can sleep here, but as far as anything else, in the morning you better come here and get him ready for school or the babysitter. You better feed him. You better come home at nighttime and get him ready for bed. You better make sure his clothes is ready, his food is ready for the next day. You better make sure he's fed. You make sure he's sleep before you leave here because I got a place. I think I told you the story before. I got a place for me and him, and then the landlord was pregnant and didn't tell nobody, and she just was using me for a couple of months rent so she could get some couple of months rent for her baby, and then she wanted to throw me out. And then I got another place, and then the place was too cold because I was in the basement and the place was too cold for him, so then he stayed with my mother until I got my other apartment. But she told me, no, I'm not taking care of him. You gotta come here every day. Every day I did. Every day I did. So I knew what it's like to not have help, and I knew what it's like to struggle with a kid, and now one turned into two, and she'd be like, well, if you give me so and so, I can show them, and blah blah blah. So I was constantly just helping her, helping her, helping her. But screen as a landlord, sometimes you can't go by your heart. You know. Plus, right now everybody's at work. Everybody's not working. So people come in your house, and because I used to work with somebody like that, every 3 months she'd be in court because she would find a place, and she was white, but she was on drugs. She would find a place for her and her family. It was her husband, and her 2 kids, and all of them was on drugs. Not the kids, but the parents. So she would find a place because she had a job. She was one of those workable junkies, and no, not my other one. My other friend, she was addicted to coke, and the other one was addicted to heroin. And they both lived. They both worked in the same department. So she was hooked on heroin. Her husband was hooked on heroin. Had a good job. Got paid more than me. She worked in the accounting department, and how I know, because my friend who was hooked on coke told me that when they boss went to the bathroom, she worked across from the boss, not my friend, but the other white girl. She would take her foot and try to get the boss's pocketbook from underneath the desk to bring the boss's pocketbook to her so she can go into the boss's pocketbook to steal money and then put it back. She told me that girl would be doing stuff like that. So anyway, every 3 months she'd be moving. Not every three, but every six, because it takes 3 months for them to move. Every 6 months she would put the kids through torture of moving. I don't know whatever happened to her kids. I heard her son ended up on drugs too, but um, she you know, yeah, she was in a state. So I know people like that. So people would do that. They would rent your place, and then they know they had no intention of paying rent, and they give you like a month or two because that's all they can save up, and then they know that in New York, when you stay in the house for a certain amount of days, that you can't throw them out. So they try to stay as long as they can. Then they plop themselves on a couch and say, "Oh, I'm not moving." That's what they do in New York, But yeah, I'm dealing with one of them right now. It's a long story. These people. Anyway, I've helped people before, and I'm still helping people. I helped this guy. He stayed, still staying. But now he's out trying to find work, and he's back and forth, and you know, then I'm my son, and So I'm not saying don't help people, but just be careful of how many times you help these people, because people would try to take advantage of you. You know, but I just want I just want you to know that, back to the first story, telling a child that his father, I think there should be mandatory tests in Jamaica, in here, all over the world, because a lot of kids is going around thinking that the father is theirs and not theirs, and then they grow up rebellious and have problems, and they end up in foster care. Because a lot of kids end up in foster care because either they don't have a mother or either they don't have a father. And then to think somebody's your father and not finding out, and they end up hating the mother eventually because the mother kept the child away from them or used the child as a pawn, or vice versa. So yeah, I think in Jamaica they should have mandatory DNA. I think in the United States they should have mandatory DNA. Yup. It would save a lot. It would solve a lot of problems. But why are you gonna do that to the kid? Because the kid is grown for love this father. No, you just love the fact that father can give you child support. Let's be real. It's not. It's not fair on the child, and it's definitely not fair on the father. So yes, United States, I think you should outlaw that rule that once you sign that birth certificate, that child is yours. No, because family lie, women lie. if the I mean, you can say something like, okay, if you sign the birth certificate and later on you find out that child is not yours, then you can, you know, go back to court, prove that that child is not yours, and the child would the courts would look for the real father, something like that. Gradually, a gradual thing, so you don't have to cut it off right away, but it has to be some concession for the guy. They pay taxes too, you know. And women want to say, "Oh, it's not fair for the child." No, it's not fair for your pockets. Because now you really gotta look for the father, and you know in your heart that that father is worth nothing, and you want that money to keep coming in because you may need that money to take care of the child or whatever, or it's just extra money for you to do your hair, your nails, or whatever the case may be. I was watching a show the other day. I'm not gonna say who, and every day this chick, or every other day this chick be in a salon somewhere, either getting her face done, her toes done, her belly done, not surgery, but upkeeps, because you got to go when these girls these days, when they have the BBLs, they have to go to these doctors and get, the softening and the injection and the facial things and all that. Because that's what the show is based on. Her taking care of her body. Her son had $1,000 and he spent that $1,000 on games. And she's complaining. Oh, how he gonna be caking off $1,000 and that's money from the family. And I'm like, hold up. I'm like, but hold up. At least 2 or 3 times a week, you getting your belly sucked in or something and your face, and that's not money for the family. I know you want to show your children financial responsibility and things like that, and not to spend it in all way. Well, say that, but I don't go into the whole dissertation about for the family and for the this and this, because when you go do what you got to do, what you tell them? Oh, mommy just went to get her belly sucked in or this that. Yeah, that money could be used for something else too. So and then I'm sorry for picking on her. Some people just don't like hear the truth. And then her husband was arguing with her about she don't be cooking all the time, because he's a trucker. So I'm like, hold up, you on the road all the time, and when you come home, she don't want to cook? uh, so they was arguing about that. I'm like, but he's the breadwinner. I'm sure you're feeding the kids nuggets and stuff that it's not really well prepared. Not well prepared, but don't take much to prepare. But when your man comes home and he's on the road for 2, 3 days trying to make money for your family, make sure you find out that man's schedule. Make sure you have some dinner ready for him. Some hot cooked home cooking. Because he's not home all the time. It's not like he's home every day. He wants you to cook every day. He's home like 2, 3 days out the whole week. And you can't prepare a hot meal for that man. Because that's all he do is eat out. He eat at truck stops. Have you ever eaten at truck stops? Yeah, exactly. So when you come home from being on a truck stop, you want some home cooked meal. You don't want no pizza or no burger or nothing like that. You want some regular food. You understand? And I'm like, where are your priorities, young lady? Your man should be, because I understand you wanna, you don't want to appear like you love him more than he loves you, and blah 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 blah. But there's certain things that a old head would tell you, If that man is out there making money and he's on the corner all the time and he's in the street doing all the time and he's trucking all the time, make sure that when he is home twice per week, make sure that 2 times he get a hot meal. Because you don't do it, somebody else is going to do it. Don't matter how fine you are. And stop pressuring that man into getting you a bigger ring. The ring you got is fine. You're putting all these pressures on this young man and you don't understand what you're doing to him. First of all, you're making him look like he's cheap amongst his friends because you're on TV. And he's a hardworking man, right? And the ring you got is very big. But you want to get a bigger ring? He can't afford that. But he's not going to say that on TV because, everybody got to